Hello everyone. So today's question for discussion 5 is discuss within your groups about examples for different degrees of elasticity of demand and elasticity of supply, and discuss about the significance of elasticity of demand supply in markets for both sides, like for consumer side and for supplier side. So we have to discuss it in 15 to 20 minutes. So I'll start with the examples for different degrees of elasticity in demand, right? So
Okay.
when we talk about elasticity in demand, these all like slight change in the price or like other factors, these can affect demand. So there are different degrees of elasticity. So first one is perfectly elastic demand. In this, a small change in price leads to an infinitely large change in quantity demanded, and it is represented by a horizontal demand curve. So in this case, what will happen? Consumers are extremely sensitive to price change and will buy an infinite amount at a specific price, but nothing at a higher price. And when we talk about perfectly inelastic demand, this is the opposite scenario where a change in price has no effect on the quantity demanded, and it will be represented by a vertical demand curve. So, in this case, consumers are not sensitive to price change. They will buy the same quantity regardless of the, you will say, price change. I'll give the further examples also of these. Um, Third one is unitary elastic demand. And in this, when a change in price leads to an exactly proportional change in quantity demanded, this result in a constant elasticity of demand. Like in this case, total revenue remains unchanged with a change in price. And the fourth one is relatively elastic demand. This describes a situation where the percentage of change in quantity demanded is greater than the percentage of change in price. This usually occurs when consumers are sensitive to price changes and small changes in price led to the significant changes in the quantity demanded. And the last one is relatively inelastic demand. So, in contrast to relatively elastic demand, relatively inelastic demand occurs when the percentage change in quantity demanded is less than the percentage change in price. This often happens when necessities or products with limited substitutes, where consumers are less sensitive to price changes. So, if I talk about the examples, I think first supply. Muskan, you can talk about the supply ones. Then I will talk about these examples. Will it be fine? Because then both the points will be
Sure.
discussed. Because these are similar points when we talk about situations.
Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I would like to add one example in elasticity of imperfect, like you talked about. The second example, perfectly inelastic demand. I would like to add one example there, like medicines from pharmacists, like no matters what is the price for consumer will buy it at same price. So no matter how the price will go, supply will remain fixed there. And if I talked about the second part of the question, it was about, I think so, elasticity of supply. For example, items like rice, wheat, corns have perfectly elastic supply, as these are produced in large quantities also and stored in future productions. As a result, producer increased production to meet changes in demand without any notable control. And also, frozen food products are also the perfect example of elasticity of supply. Second example I would like to add of airlines. Like in airlines, once all the seats are booked, a flight are booked, the supply become perfectly inelastic. Even if the demand for ticket got increased, the airline cannot get more passengers on that flight, which can result to fixed supply of seats.
Yeah, very good. All the examples are very nice. So, if I talk about demand one, so like we can talk about gasoline. It is relatively inelastic because people need to fuel their vehicles to go about their daily activities, and there are limited immediate alternatives to driving. So, in the long term, the demand becomes more elastic as consumers may switch to more fuel efficient vehicles they can use public transportation or move closer to their workplaces. So this is the example of relatively inelastic. And if we talk about luxury goods, definitely like designer clothing, high-end jewelry, luxury cars, these are tends to be elastic because consumers can easily forego these items if price increases. Like these goods are often considered discretionary purchases because consumers can delay or avoid buying them altogether if price rise. Like if price will be increased, so it depends on the consumer's choice whether they want to purchase it or not. So this called like elastic one, demand of elastic. So if we talk about medicine, so already Muskan has talked about this example. Definitely if medicines are very necessary, so of course consumers are likely to buy these.
Mhm. So basically, if we talk about these elasticity of demand and supply, so basically elasticity means to what extent a person can go, either in the case of
Yes.
supply or in the case
Uh,
of demand.
these are different situations and circumstances which impact consumers' behavior and market, you can say, dynamics.
Okay. So basically, elasticity of supply depends upon the production side, right? And
Yes.
elasticity of demand is for consumer side, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, all right.
I also want to add one more example in elasticity of demand,
Mhm.
in perfectly elastic demand. So, if I talked about perfect elastic demand, for example, a group of farmers are selling crates of fresh oranges to the local market vendors, and among one of the farmers suddenly rose their prices, and the vendor now the vendor will buy that oranges crates from some another farmer, so it will not affect vendor, and as a result quality demanded drops for the farmer who increase their prices, because here the vendor have many options like multiple sellers also, so this will also like increase the demand.
Okay. So this was imperfectly elastic, right?
Yeah, this was perfectly elastic demand.
Okay, this is perfectly given.
So one was left, I think, relatively inelastic. This is explained. Relatively inelastic. It will be
Ah,
like in the case of fast food. For
mhm.
example, even if prices slightly increase, consumers may continue to purchase fast food because of their habits, convenience, and time constraints. So, if prices increase significantly, so maybe healthier options can be chosen. They become more affordable, but demand may become more elastic in this case.
Okay. So Mohit, you want to cover significance part?
Yes,
Okay, so you can cover.
first we talk about the significance for suppliers. Firstly, revenue management, elasticity of demand is crucial for suppliers in that determining pricing strategies in the market with elastic demand. Suppliers must be cautious with rising price as it can be lead to significant decrease in revenue due to large decrease in quantity demanded. Conversely, in a market with inelastic demand, suppliers have more flexibility to raise prices without losing a substantial numbers of customers. Uh, Next, significance for suppliers like production planning, elasticity of demand influence production planning and inventory management decisions in markets with elastic demand. Suppliers may need adjust production levels for frequently response to change in demand to avoid inventory or squirts. Conversely, in market with inelastic demand, suppliers can maintain more stable production levels as demand remains relatively constant despite price changes. Uh, and next example for the significance for supplier competitive positioning. Suppliers use elasticity of demand to assess their competitive positioning in the market. In industries with elastic demand, suppliers face more competition as consumers have numerous alternatives available. Therefore, suppliers must focus on factors as product differentiation and cost efficiency to maintain market and share. And lastly, in summary, understanding the elasticity of demand and supply is essential for both consumer and suppliers in making informed decisions regarding pricing, production, and market strategies. It helps optimize resource allocation and minimize revenue and enhance consumer welfare in the market.
Okay. So basically, if we talk about significance for suppliers, that is their decision to produce the products based on the market, uh, how much producers do want it, and in response to price, that if some price is declining, so they might be producing less. If it is rising, they might be producing more or something. Okay. For supplier, for the purpose of suppliers, this is the significance. And if we talk about in terms of consumers, so this helps the consumers to make their early decisions based on prices. For example, if a consumer is getting that the price of this essential good is going to be up very soon, so they are the consumers at the first step take those products, and in they do get those products, essential products, so that they should not spend much of their money afterwards. So I guess this is basically the significance of elasticity of supply and demand in markets in terms of consumers and suppliers.
I want to add one more point in for consumer perspective.
Mhm.
So, for consumer perspective, it also depends upon price sensitivity. Like elasticity of demand helps consumer to understand about price change also. If the price will increase, the consumer stop purchasing. But if demand is rigid, consumer will buy the product at high price also. So it would be depend upon price sensitivity also. And for supplier perspective, it's depends up it's all depends on pricing strategies. Like they need to set pricing strategies before.
All right.
Yeah, I also would like to say, like in summary, we can say understanding the elasticity of demand and supply is essential for both, like consumers and suppliers, in making informed decisions regarding pricing, production, and market strategies. Fine, it helps us in like optimizing resource allocation, maximize revenue, and of course, enhance consumer welfare in the market.
Fine. Well, there are a lot of examples if we talk about elasticity of demand and supply in the market. As essential commodities are there, we can see milk and all these stuff. Then non-essential ones are cars and all these things. So we can easily judge elasticity of demand and supply. If we have to take our example, definitely we'll be more elastic in terms of buying a car or something rather than maybe medicines or something else, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess everybody is fine with this topic, elasticity of demand and supply.
Yeah, everything is covered, I think so.
Mm.
Okay. So do anyone of you want to cover anything, or it's fine? We are done.
It's fine. I think we have discussed every point, I think, which was related to this topic.
Okay. Okay, fine then. I guess we are done with the work, and we'll be submitting the work as well. Fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was nice meeting you all. Have a good day.
Yeah, you also have a good day.
See you. Bye.
Bye bye.